Let's take another look at another functional relationship. Here's a functional relationship. Your fine for an overdue library book depends on how many days overdue it is. So if you take out a library book, it comes with a certain due date, the date by which you have to return the library book. If you don't return the library book on that date, you are going to be charged a fine for however many days you have kept it overdue. So, and I also have this table right here, which lists some information. It lists a certain number of days overdue and a certain number of fines associated with that many days overdue. So remember, in this case, the number of days overdue is your input because the fine depends on how many days overdue it is. And if we want to talk about independent and dependent variables, your independent variable in this case is the number of days overdue, and your dependent variable is the amount of money you have to pay in a fine. All right, so let's look at this table and understand how we can use this information to figure out the relationship between these inputs and outputs. So we should see right here that 1 day overdue causes you to have a fine of 150. So the input 1 produces the output 150. If we look at a lower row, 5 days overdue causes you to have a fine of 350. So in this function, the input 5 would produce the output 350. Let's think about how we can use this table to answer some questions. Let's say we had this question. Let's say we were asked, what would your fine be? What would your fine be for having, let's say, 4 days overdue? 4 days overdue. Well, we're going to look and see what is the output associated with the input 5. Sorry, what is the output associated with the input 4? And we can see here that 4 days overdue causes you to have a fine of $3. So the input in this function 4 produces the output 3. Okay? And we can also go in the opposite direction too. What if we were given this scenario? What if we were told that Juan had to pay an overdue fine, had to pay a fine of, let's say, $4 even. He had to pay a fine of $4. And what if we were asked, how many days overdue was he? Well, we can also use the information of this table to go in the opposite direction. Let's look at our column that gives us the different values of fines we might have to pay. And let's see if we can find the spot where we have a $4 fine. So a $4 fine is right here. Okay, so what is the associated input that produces that output? We can see here that the input 6 produces the output 4, right? So we can therefore answer that having your book overdue for 6 days would result in a $4 fine. So if we knew that Juan had to pay a fine of $4, we therefore know that he had his book overdue for 6 days.